Hey, good morning, Misfits. It is April. It is May 28th, 2020. It is Thursday, the day that follows Wednesday and before Friday. I hope everybody's doing well. As we get started here this morning, I want to thank you for being a part of this community. How many people we got in here? Whoa, you're getting in here quick. So appreciate you being a part of this community. And let's go ahead and send out our three messages of joy, of gratitude, of love. Send out those three messages to people that you care about, people that make you excited, people that maybe you haven't talked to in a while. Why would we do that? Because it's about making space in our own world. It's about making space in our own days to bring some joy into the world. So if you're new to the community, welcome. Drop an N in the chat if you're new. We've got to kind of let people in into the community. So look at all these new folks. Great to have you all here. Appreciate you being here. The question becomes, what brought you here, right? What's the thing that's got you wanting to be here? Somebody said something that Nano's a pretty amazing soul. Love him to death. So as we get started today, accumulation of anything. Last night I was watching something and I heard this little phrase, it was kind of a throwaway phrase they had. And all of a sudden it hit me. How do you accumulate anything? And how does it stay? Right? You can accumulate $1 a day, or you can accumulate $1,000 in a day. What's the difference? Right? You can get scared at a movie and accumulate that little bit of fear and adrenaline, or you can keep it, right? And you can keep adding it to the old fears and just keep building it. You can accumulate joy. So that's kind of the conversation today is, what is it that you're accumulating? What have you accumulated that you might need to let go? That would serve you well to let go. That was the thought process. And then in meditation again this morning, it kind of came across to me as, this is something that is a challenge. This is something that it really started me thinking, and I did it on my live last night on Instagram. We talked about it, and it kind of raised some questions. It got people thinking, because that's what we really want to be able to devise a way to create some new thought for ourselves. When we think about that, having thinking about stuff, listen, 1% of the population think, 2% think they think, the other 97% would rather die than think. And I don't mean that that's a metaphorical conversation, but most people are not thinking. They're responding, reacting, they're habitualized, and they're acting out of reaction, right? They're going to wake up the same way. They're going to go do their morning the same way. They'll talk to their same people the same way. Now, as Les Brown said in an interview I did with him, God sent us all to our room. We wake up differently every day. Some of us don't have a job to go to. Some of us are working from home. So how do you accumulate authority? What is your method for accumulating health? Right? Jeremy was talking yesterday about, and I watched one of his videos where they were talking about fasting. He was interviewing a woman, and they were having a conversation about fasting. How do you accumulate fasting? Minute by minute, day by day, and you fast. So all of these things, if you go and look at the things you have in life, you accumulated them. How did you accumulate love for somebody? How did you accumulate joy for somebody? Make sense? It's kind of a different way to think of it, because we don't think about accumulating of of money or funds or fear or fun. We just think we have it. Well, the reason that we get to a breaking point, or we get to a point to where we decide it's the day we've had enough, is because our accumulation has reached a boiling point. Right? When we draw that line in the sand, it's because we've decided we've had enough of either of not having something or having something. See, there's no difference between the two. It's a decision that's being made. Either I don't want any more of this, or I'm not going to spend another day without this. It's the ends of the teeter-totter. So we get to have a choice every day, right? And Sadhguru says, choose joy or choose misery. Which do you choose? I see Liz has her hand up. Lisa has her hand up. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I just wanted to say, Sean, thank you for being the vessel. Well, at least for me, especially to just have realizations. My voice is hoarse. Excuse it. I've been doing lots of vibe checks with my kids lately. But I'm glad that you have the topic that you had this morning, because I've been going through a lot of realization, surreal realizations, because I realized that I had enough.
Mm-hmm.
I had enough of being not an empowered empath. I'm empathic. And I realized that my entire life of not setting up boundaries, I suffered tremendously because of it. I was diagnosed at a young age with major depressive disorder, later on with personality disorder, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, only because I didn't know how to set up boundaries with myself and remove myself from toxic people and situations. So I say that to say this. In January, I really had enough. It was a toxic relationship I was in with a man that wasn't the father of my kids. Unfortunately, the father of my children was murdered almost 2 years ago in August.
Wow.
So I was just dealing with a lot. He was dealing with a lot. And I realized, I said, you know what, Lisa, enough is enough. You can't fix everybody. You are suffering so much because you want to take on everyone's problems, but you've never taken care of your own. So I took the initiative before he left. I say that my prayers changed. And what changed was that everything was with intention now for myself, And I really started diving into personal development, which led me to Mornings with Neno, which led me to you, which led me to the business of social media marketing, Forex, my team. I've never been surrounded, with so much love, positivity, genuineness. Along my spiritual journey, I realized that I am not a human body having this experience. I'm a spiritual being having this experience. And it's just been so surreal, and I'm so grateful. My gratitude is unbelievable. I've never cried so many tears of gratitude in my entire life than I've had these past 2 weeks, because I've been getting a lot of signs and numbers, and God is telling me I am on my true path. And it's just really, really amazing. And it took me to say, Lisa, enough is enough. It's time to put you first for me to get this. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm grateful for all of my vessels, my mentors. Thank you, Sean. I'm so grateful for you. You're an excellent mentor. Thank you.
Well, Lisa, thank you. And remember, you're the one doing all the hard work, because until you told me, until you gave me a reference point, allowed me to accumulate a little bit of your joy, I had no idea the influence. And this is key to understand for everybody. People are watching. People are watching. So Lisa, thank you for sharing that. But don't forget to thank yourself. And I think you have, and you
You
might
know
need to
what?
do
You
it.
taught me that the other day. I said, wow, I never thanked myself for taking the initiative, for, realizing it was my will that did it, And thank you for that too. Thank you.
Well, it's my privilege and pleasure because, as Les Brown would say, it's my plum pleasing pleasure to be here with you today. But it is my pleasure to know that I was able to give a little bit of direction to somebody with a soul such as yours to awaken to
Mm,
your greatness more and more every day. So
thank
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, Alex J. Let's go to Serbia, Belgrade.
Hello, Sean. How are you doing this
Outstanding,
morning?
brother.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude once again for all you guys. And I noticed a thing. I haven't been active in the last couple days as I normally am, just asking questions, having conversations with y'all, because I had to do something with my school. I don't know how it goes in America, but here we have to do some essays, we have to do some tests and all that kind of stuff when we want to graduate high school, no matter if we do want to get a college degree or not. So I have to do it anyway. So I was like, I was a bit busy with that. But anyways, the strangest thing happened. So on the weekend was my birthday, right? And I took some time off. I took some steam off, right? We went to the bar by I was going to bed at like 3, 4 a.m. with my friends and all that kind of stuff. And then Monday through today's Thursday, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, Monday through Wednesday night, last night, it was very weird. I was like sleeping all day. I wasn't feel like doing anything. I was just low energy, like low, whatever you want to call it. In the gym, I would like do 4 sets of something and like die literally. So I was like both spiritually and physically like energy less or whatever the word is. And the strangest thing happened. Last night I was journaling some stuff and I found those old Bob Proctor's like what are those called? Goals of the day card, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, goal achieving worksheet. Yeah, that's the exact name. And I used to write them all the time before, and I was like, what happened in these 3 days? Like what's happened? I'm like extremely disciplined usually with my morning activities and my day activities and the gym and the diet and everything. So what happened? And I started thinking, and I usually snap um, relatively quickly back to the activities, but this time I noticed a thing. And in the past 3 days, when I wasn't asking you questions, when I didn't have conversations with you, with y'all here on the call, when I wasn't bothering you in the Instagram chat. Sorry about that, but that's just how I do
Good,
it.
good.
Um, both you and RBP and the RC and all y'all, I noticed a thing. I snapped back into my old story every single minute of the day, Sean. You're not gonna believe it. Like I started to think about some thoughts, some dark thoughts, some stupid stuff, and it was like bang, 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 like thoughts immediately of the old story. And last night I sat down, started to journal all those dark thoughts, and just being surrounded with your positivity in the last couple of weeks. This morning I got up just as usual. Morning routine, morning affirmations. I cleaned the house, cleaned all my stuff, shoes, all that stuff. And you basically helped me to snap back more quickly than usual, and that's why I want to say thank you.
Well, Alex, remember, so you're welcome. I'll accept that. But also remember, you're the one that did the work. You're the one that did the realization. You're the one that became aware of which way you were snapping to. So,
Yeah.
this is something that it requires hourly investigation. Am I
Yeah.
moving towards my goal or farther away? Because there is no staying the same. are you moving closer or farther away? That's the reality of every moment. And then you realize that when you went back to your old story, you might not have been choosing joy. So very simple adjustments of the compass
Yeah.
allow you to determine. It's kind of like in school right now. So with COVID here in the States, at least in our area in Texas, if you turn in any of your homework, it's a pass. You automatically get an A,
Yeah.
or it's a fail. So that's what you just learned. Too many times we live in the B, C, and D range of our life, and we never get really down deep into the dirt, or we never really get high to the mountains. So I appreciate you recognizing that and understanding that you had a choice and you decided to make something. So I appreciate that that we as a community were part to help you through that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But remember, you're the one that did the hardest work.
I knew
'Cause
you were gonna say that, but just say you're welcome. And
I did. But
I
I'm
knew you were
working.
gonna say that.
But I'm working with your subconscious,
Yeah.
so that
Sean,
you realize that you've got the chance to make that difference.
Yep.
So I appreciate that, Alex. Thanks so much.
can I read something for him, Sean?
Thank you.
This is from the book The One Thing, Alex. So it says,
All right. Well, let me hear that.
you know about habits. They can be hard to break and hard to create, but we are unknowingly acquiring new ones all the time. When we start and continue a way of thinking or a way of acting over a long enough period, we've created a new habit. The choice we face is whether or not we want to form habits that get us what we want from life. If we do, then the focusing question is the most powerful success habit we can have. For me, the focusing question is a way of life. I use it to find my most leveraged priority, make the most out of my time, and get the biggest bang for my buck. Whenever the outcome absolutely matters, I ask it. I ask it when I wake up and start my day. I ask it when I get to work and again when I get home. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And when I know the answer, I continue to ask it until I can see the connections and all my dominoes are lined up. Obviously, you can drive yourself nuts analyzing every little aspect of everything you might do. I don't do that. And you shouldn't either. Start with the big stuff and see where it takes you. Over time, you'll develop your own sense of when to use the big picture question and when to use the small focus question. The focus question is the foundational habit I use to achieve extraordinary results and lead a big life. I use it for some things and not at all for others. I apply it to the important areas of my life: my spiritual life, physical health, personal life, key relationships, job, business, and financial life. And I address them in that order. Each one is a foundation for the next. Because I want my life to matter, I approach each area by doing what matters most in it. I view these as the cornerstone of my life and have found that when I'm doing what's most important in each area, my life feels like it's running on all cylinders. The focusing question can direct you to your one thing in the different areas of your life. Simply reframe the focusing question by inserting your area of focus. So there you go, my brother.
And that was everybody. Morning Wisdom with Moshe. Brand new podcast on YouTube every morning at 8:30. That
So
would be a good idea.
So here's the thing, Alex. The one line that
Brother.
stood out in there to me was, what's the one thing that makes everything else not important?
Yeah.
That's what to me, that whole thing could be summarized to, what's the one thing, right? Kyle Wilson teaches, the Jim Rohn's former business partner for 18 years. He says, what's the one domino that knocks the rest down?
Yeah.
So appreciate you, brother.
I'm going to think about that. Thank you both.
Awesome. I'm going to go to Evelyn in just a second. Alex in Sweden asks a question. Sean, I know many of us believe in God, but do you think personal development is needed to develop as a person from Sweden? So there are many people that don't believe in God. I don't know that a belief in God is necessary to develop personally. For me personally, it's something that it's a part of who I am, but to develop yourself as a person, personal development is necessary. But the biggest challenge is, Alexander, is the undoing of stories that have been put into us. Addiction to approval. Addiction to approval exists whether you have faith in a higher source or not. Addiction to approval is probably one of the most menacing disorders that exist in our world. And so becoming a better speaker, but worrying about what the audience says about you or what you think they say about you when the speech is over, that's still addiction to approval. That'll keep you from standing on stage with a level of confidence necessary to deliver your story. So yeah, personal development is necessary. If you begin to look at it just a little bit different, Dr. Wayne Dyer would say, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. If you look at the development that you're doing, there's bad habits you have, and they say bad habits are hard to break. You want to know another truth? Good habits are hard to break as well. So great question. I believe there's a need for having faith in something, because you're stepping into the unknown with every breath. Right now, this moment has never, ever, ever, never existed in time. There's a faith that you have, there's a belief that you have, there's laws of the universe that you are believing in that say the sun is going to come up exactly where it's supposed to this morning, and Jupiter is going to stay where it is, and the moon's going to stay where it is. So there's rules of science that you're following that you're hoping are the same today as they were yesterday. That is called a little bit of faith. That is called a little bit of knowing, right? In the unknown. So great question. I hope that helps. Let's go to Evelyn. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing today? Sean, I have a couple of questions. Finally, I decided to start the journaling yesterday. I was like really afraid of it. I
Okay.
don't know why. But finally, I decided to set myself into it, and I was just in tears. Like, first of all, like to feel my thoughts, like so slow, my brain focusing what I was writing down. And it was in tears in the whole entire time that I was writing down. It was an amazing experience. And through the whole day, I felt like peaceful. But now my point is, for example, I was waking up at 5, and then now I decide to add another hour to my day. So because I'm going at 5 in the morning at the gym, so I'm waking up at 4. But through the other activities in my morning routine since 4, and the meetings with you and the nano and then the things and then the meditation, it's going like around 11 or 12, right? And then I started like thinking like, oh, but how many hours are you going to dedicate to yourself? How many hours are you going to do on these things? Like,
I love
how
you.
long are you going to take for you to be developing yourself or to be? So
I love you. So is that your question? Why are you thinking that, or what's
I start feeling bad about myself because I was
taking too
doing
much time
that.
for yourself?
Yes, even though that I had my house clean, my husband's food ready, like I had everything done,
Right.
but I was beating myself up because of
Sure.
what I was doing.
Absolutely. So how long does it take for a tree to become a tree?
A long time.
Until it's no longer a tree. How long is it going to take you to become you? Until you're no longer you. See, this awareness that you're having is the old story, is the brainwave patterns. And the question is because you're taking time for yourself, you're having an argument with somebody that's not even in the room, saying, well, you seem to be taking an awful lot of time for yourself, Evelyn. And the answer to that should be absolutely. Absolutely. Because look, I've got more time to be awake, right? I'm getting all of the things done that I need to get done, and maybe even some additional things I didn't know I could get done. And this is all by being able to do more by being less. So you're being less agitated with all of the things that you might have done. You're being a little bit less disorganized because of you worrying about things or doing other stuff. So you're doing a lot less by focusing on you. And I'll be darned if you're not becoming a little bit more each and every day. And it's in that more that we begin to let the old story show up. And you just did it. When you started journaling and you said in your words, my thoughts slowed down and I was able to feel my thoughts. I'm going to ask you, have you ever been able to feel your thoughts before? No. So is that an okay thing to feel your thoughts?
Yes.
And if it is, I would encourage you to do more. And as an actress, imagine what that's going to allow you to do as you begin to play different parts. And you begin to pick up the essence of it. And when it's time to cry or get emotional in a situation, you can instantly pull up that true feeling, not the faked feeling. And now all of a sudden you've become this, you've taken your level of your craft of being an actress to the next level.
Okay.
So I applaud you. I congratulate you. I applaud you for having the courage to say, you know, this is kind of crazy, Sean. I started journaling and I started crying. That's crazy stuff. But what it is, it's you awakening to you. Imagine, I don't know if a puppy would excite you, but imagine whenever you've got a gift and you just started crying. And you're like, these are tears of happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening now. You're awakening to you. And it might be 2 years since you've done it, or 10 years, or 20 years, or maybe even a little more. But that's awesome that it's happening. There's many people who journal who don't have that connection. They get to it at a point. They may start that way, but at some point they start to build the wall again of, well, that's just silly emotions. Not so much. So congratulations on having that level of connection with yourself, with your desire to be more, have more, do more, all by doing less. Because when you're sitting journaling and you said, I connected the feeling of my thoughts slowed down. You were doing an awful lot less. And in that doing so much less by choice, you got so much more out of the day. So, and you do, there is a point to where, you know, if you're going from 4 to noon on yourself, some days you may not be able to do all of that. Because what's going to happen is more people are going to be engaging with you and needing you in their world because of your energy shift. Don't be surprised you're going to start to get new phone calls out of the blue where people are like, hey, Evelyn, I need you to do this. And you're like, that's crazy. That's weird that I got that call. Does that make sense?
Yes. One more thing.
Sure.
But at the end of the night, right when I went to sleep, like it was like my brain didn't want to shut down. Like it was like through the day I was super peaceful and then in control and focus in the business and the activities that I told myself. At night I give a training to my girls. But right before I went to sleep, I was trying to like meditate, focus on my breathing, but it was like this running and like running in my head. And I was like, what is going on?
So think about it for just a second. Let's both of us take a step back, and you and I are standing next to each other, and we just heard this amazing soul with the name Evelyn say, my days are absolutely beautiful. I'm doing more for myself. I'm able to get up earlier, and I'm able to get everything done, food for my husband, the help with my girls, all of this stuff. And then at the time to go to sleep, your brain runs off and turns into monkey mind overload. What if you were to look at it from the external point of view, what did that do? What does your brain running off on monkey mind and craziness do? It keeps you from getting your rest. That's the old story popping up going, well, listen, if I can't control you when you're in focus, I'm going to control you when you want to go to sleep, so you can't, so that you wake up tomorrow all messed up.
Actually, today I felt very tired to get up. Yeah, I did it because I'm working on keeping my word.
Right.
With
So
myself.
again, so
Yeah, okay,
when you wake up right now, I would encourage you to spend a couple of moments saying, hey, listen, tell the brain that was last night. Tell the brain that was last night. I love that you're here wanting to keep me safe. But see, I woke up this morning. I'm a little bit tired, but I appreciate that. I know what being tired now feels like, but I also know the joy of living my dream. So when you start to go to sleep, I would encourage you during the day saying, you know, when I begin to shut down everything, my brain will also shut down because it's still in a safe place. I know it sounds so crazy for us to actually have a conversation with ourselves. But you know what the funny thing is? If we don't choose to have the conversation, it'll be had for us. And we'll start to hear that crazy stuff. So I applaud you. You've gone wildly far in a very short order. But that's the power of the female brain. Once they make a decision to do something, if you haven't figured that out, guys, when a woman decides to do something, just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Don't think you can stop it or change it. Just be there. And if you do get in the way, get ready to pick up some pieces because you will get run over. So now that you're taking time for you, this becomes a high priority. Pay attention to the people around you, that you're still serving them. And you said you got all of your stuff done. The house is clean. The food is cooked. The girls are taken care of. So congratulations that you're keeping your promise to them as well.
Thank you.
You bet. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I feel everything that you're saying. And also I made up my mind, like I was sick and tired of rejecting myself and not receiving. And I have my hands open to receive my blessings and everything that I am working. Like there is no way I won't receive what I want because I am doing everything for it. And I'm going to continue being faithful to me and to myself.
Excellent. So Evelyn, I'm going to do a little exercise with you because do you do any yoga?
I did before, but I have not.
Okay.
In quite some time.
I'm going to ask everybody to do this little exercise to just show you how, I'm going to show you in 30 seconds how powerful it is to pay attention to the body. So everybody just sit calmly where you're at. And if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. But I just want you to sit calmly. And Sadhguru taught this. And it's just a very simple exercise. So I want you to feel your breathing. I want you to feel the air as it goes in your lungs. And I want you to just take your hands and I want you can just rest them on your lap. You don't just rest them palms down on your lap. And I want you to feel your breathing. Now, when I tell you switch, all I want you to do is I want you to keep breathing. I don't want you to take any bigger breaths. I want you to just keep breathing. But when I ask you to switch, all I want you to do is just turn your hands over and just put palms up. And I want you to notice your breathing. And then I'm going to say switch again, and I just want you to turn your hands back over, palms down. Couple more breaths. And we're going to switch again, palms up. Anybody notice anything? Anybody
It's
notice?
heavier when you
Yes.
turn your hand down
Yeah.
opposed to when you have your hands up.
Yoga is not about stretching and putting yourself in crazy ass positions. Yoga is about becoming one. And the simple turning of your hand changes where the air flows into your body.
Made it light. Wow.
Yeah. But this is just the simple changing of your hands.
Wow.
Imagine what happens when we start to do those things and incorporate it with, see, the intentionality behind rotating your hand was to rotate your hand. The body said, you want me to breathe easier. None of you had the intention of breathing easier. You had the desire to breathe easier. You had the capacity to feel your body change. This is what happens when you begin to meditate. You have the capacity to awaken to the stories that run inside of you. Some of them tearful, some of them tears of joy. But the simple rotation of your hand, without you being taught to change where the air flows into your body, into your lungs, this is the power of yoga. And yoga isn't about stretching and putting your leg behind your head. Yoga is about becoming one. So, Eve, what you're doing, Evelyn, is when you sit and meditate and take care of you, you're doing yoga. One of the greatest sutras that ever said, it's a half a sentence. And now, yoga. You've tried money, you've tried sex, you've tried alcohol, you've tried your career, you've tried family, you've tried everything, and everything seems to fall short of you being the best you. And now, yoga. That simple transition of the hand changed everything in your body. Imagine what understanding the rest of the way you use your body, including your brain, to awaken to yourself. Isn't that cool? Isn't that just so cool? Evelyn, I want to say thank you for your smile. You're a beautiful woman. You know it. I know it. The radiance that's coming from your smile is huge. And most people may not acknowledge that because you're already probably more beautiful than most of the ones you hang around, and they don't know how to compliment you without it seeing different. So I just want to say thank you. And thank you for your tears. I love you bunches. I can't wait to
Thank
meet
you too,
everybody
Fodder.
one day.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, LaToya. Let's go to Atlanta.
Oh, I just want to add a little bit to that. I practice Tai Chi as well, and that taught me how to be oneness with self. Also, it's beautiful. I just want to add.
When you get in, and Tai Chi, and then there's another practice called Qigong.
Yes.
And Qigong doctors, Qigong practitioners, have been able to, on fMRIs, just take the hands and with energy point it at the disease in the body and watch it vaporize on an fMRI.
Yep.
That's how powerful energy is. That's why we can be connected to each other and not even know each other, but be connected because we've circled in time and space for eons. So I appreciate that. Yes. And we call it woo woo or this, that, or the other, or energy, or all I can tell you is the energy that you use every day, flipping a light switch on a light, turning on your iPhone, recharging your iPhone. We see the memes all the time. you won't let this get down past 4%, right? You won't let your battery get down below 4% charge, but yet we run on empty for years. They kind of did a physiological test of Navy SEAL cadets. And you know Navy SEAL training. Now, Israeli training has got some amazing training as well that's absolutely brutal. And that's just their basic training. But SEAL training, if we talk about SEAL training, they talk about ringing out when they ring the bell, if you've seen any of the movies. They've actually done capacities on muscles and the body in itself. And they say when somebody rings out, they've got about 45% left in their body from muscle fiber and everything else. It is the mind, which is why they work on the mind so strong, right? They, in the military, they break you down and rebuild you back into a quote machine, discipline machine. But think about this Navy SEAL training where they absolutely run you to the very end and you're designed to stay there. You are telling yourself you are not going to quit. But 50% ring out, 60% ring out, 70% ring out, and they still have 40% left of their capacity in their body. This is important for you to realize that your body, your brain does two things. One, will it kill me? See, when they're ringing out at SEAL training, they're saying this will kill me. And they still got 40% of their capacity left. Their battery in their body is at 40%. Some of us don't worry about recharging our phone when it's at 40%. Some of us do. So when we have this conversation, very, very few times have we ever been pushed to the very edge of our capability and capacity. We think we have, but you want to hear a funny story, everybody? How many of you have ever come up against a new project that is absolutely seems like it's crushing? It seems like I don't know how I'll ever get through this, and you go, man, I just wish I had. And you pick an old story from the past that was absolutely crushing. Why would you go back and pick another miserable time that's maybe even more miserable than what's potentially in front of you? Because you knew you could get through it. You knew you could get through it because you're already on the other side of it. The challenge with the new challenge, is that we're not sure if we can get through it. Well, the reality is that, what's that phrase? This too shall pass. Every one of you is absolutely an amazing individual that when you combine your efforts with like-minded individuals, it's not an addition, it is a multiplication of success. So I appreciate every one of you being here and taking the time to show up. Let's go over to the UK. Evelyn, I never asked you, where do you live?
I live in Miami, Florida.
Okay, excellent. It's so good to have you there. Miami is lucky to have you. Let's go from Miami to the UK. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
Outstanding, my love.
Excellent. Good morning to everyone. So just before this, you were talking about accumulating things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said accumulating fears, there's this one thing that kind of popped into my head that I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
So whenever I have like anxiety, or whenever I'm scared of something, or whenever I'm starting something new, I have habits. It is sort of a habit, but it's like where my mind goes to initially, and I have to pull myself out of it, and it's quite difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like, I don't know why, but I have a fear of things swinging.
Okay.
And so I just, every time like I have anxiety, in my head, like I imagine, like, you know, like an iron
Mm-hmm.
swinging, like just swinging at me. And I don't know why, but I like, it takes me so long to get out of that. And for me to be like, right, nothing, like, you know, you can control that. Like, I have to really speak to my brain a lot. And I just don't know what that is.
So an iron coming at you makes me want to think, how many old sitcom movies are you watching? Like the old, oh, I can't think of their names. The Groucho Marx, like getting hit with an iron. That sounds like something you'd see in an old comedy.
Yeah.
So, well, if an iron hit you, how would you feel?
I'd be hurt.
Yeah. So that's probably the prettiest, the pretty simplest explanation, that if you do this new habit, you're going to get hurt.
Okay.
So the question then becomes, how many times have you done a new habit? How many times have you avoided an old habit and tried a new thing and you weren't hurt?
Plenty of times.
So I would use that as the counterpoint, the counter story to when that story starts to show up, going, yeah, I know that I could get hurt, but you want me to list off how many times I've done it and not got hurt? That's why it's so important. Listen, everybody, this happens at a subconscious level. Sometimes we become conscious enough of it when the news story goes, listen, I'm not going to let that old story just sit there in the dark. I'm going to put some light on it, and you start to become aware of it. This is why it's critical. I would wildly encourage you, with as much energy as I can, to write out your list of 100 things. 100 things of what? The 100 things you've done amazingly well that people were shocked you got through. And that starts from learning how to walk. Everybody had faith, but why does everybody get surprised the day you walk? Because until you walked, you kept falling. And all of a sudden, when the day you walked, everybody knew life will change forever for you. It's like learning to drive. Once you learn to drive, life will change forever for you. When you wind up in relationships, your life will change forever. Sometimes wildly good, sometimes wildly not so good. All of this to say, why do you think, I would ask yourself, I would sit there like a reporter. Do you know any reporters that you may not watch TV? I don't, but do you know any real like pain in the butt reporters who, whenever you hear them talk, they're like, I could never ask those questions.
Piers Morgan.
Okay. So what if you became Piers Morgan to you and you asked those questions? So let me ask you, where does this idea of the iron come from? That sounds kind of stupid. Tell me where that comes from, and let your old story go. I don't know. Well, then let's not use that anymore. Okay. Next guest.
Okay.
But become aware of it. See, here's how we get lost in our own thoughts. How many of us have ever been lost in our own thoughts? Well, how can you get lost in your own thoughts? It's this little like 6-inch area. It ain't that big. If like 2 steps, you're across it. Even if you're using your fingers, 1, 2, I'm across my entire brain. How could I get lost? It's because we choose to allow the lost to happen. How do we accumulate getting lost? Does that help?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, sort of, because now your brain's going, well, let's not pay attention to any of this craziness.
No.
You know, if we paid attention to that, we'd never be lost again. So let's just go. Let's keep throwing the poo on the walls and distracting you.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, for all of you that are in network marketing or in some kind of home-based business, a buddy of mine, Bob Parks, you've heard him on here before. This is a public service announcement. You may want to write down this website, homebusinesstaxsavings.com, homebusinesstaxsavings.com. They're based upon the information shared with me. There's a new COVID-19 cash benefit that's not like the SBA loans or anything else. You may be able to write off some expenses you've had to incur by having to stay home. So I'm not promoting it. I'm only suggesting that take it, go look at it, see if it's worth your time. And when Bob Parks shares something with me, I kind of, it has a little bit more credibility with me than somebody just going, hey, would you share this on your call in the morning? So Bob, thanks for sharing that with us. It's in the chat, homebusinesstaxsavings.com. And it's an event, a webinar they're going to do tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm sure they'll have a recording that they'll send out to you. So there you go. So Ann, back to you. Just become aware. What happens if you listen to that story? It keeps you stuck. What happens if you choose not to listen to that story? You have to step out into the frontier. And what do we know about the frontier? It gets messy.
No, it's just I do it anyway, so I just don't know why this thing keeps coming back.
So wait a minute, you're saying that you've repeated it? This isn't the first time you've done it?
No, this has been going on for about 5-6 years.
Yeah, so old story. It doesn't even exist anymore, but you've wired it in because it's a way to protect you from stepping into the frontier.
Yeah.
How much of your day, how much time do you think you'd have back to do what Evelyn does, to now be able to be in control of it? How much of your day do you think you'd have back if that old story didn't exist?
A lot of it.
So what would you do with a lot of your time back?
Put it into myself.
And if you put it into yourself, what might be a result?
I'd be in joy.
Okay, so which do you choose, joy or misery?
Joy.
Sean, you're a pain in the ass. I know, because I'm having a conversation with the old story, and it finally, when we get to it and we try to poke it, we want to try to actually make it real. There's nothing to make real. You're having an argument in your head, and they're not even in the room. And people call me crazy. So is it okay if you have more time to take care of you?
Yeah. Definitely.
And if you have more time to take care of you, what would you do to give back? Right? Your goal is to be able to provide more value to your family, to your parents, right?
Yeah.
So if you had more time to take care of you and you advanced you in this world, wouldn't that allow your advancement of taking care of them as well?
Yeah.
Wouldn't the old story then go away that you're not taking care of your parents?
Yeah.
That sucks. That was like too easy.
Wait, that's the old story?
That's the old story. This isn't about you getting hurt. It's about a distraction to keep you from keeping your promise. Snap. That's all the old story is. It's like the magician. Look over here. Look over here. And then I'm doing this over here. No, you keep looking over here. And then I'm doing this over here. And you're like, oh my God, it's magic. Well, of course it's magic. You weren't even looking in the right place. It's all an illusion until it's not. How many times have you ever sat with the little kid and he's trying to do the coin trick and you watch the coin fall out of his hand and he goes, look, it's gone, Auntie Anne. And you're like, oh, that's amazing. And he goes, I fooled them. And they didn't fool you for nothing. But your old story with the iron, come on, an iron's going to hit you. Listen, it's coming up with really some creative crap to come up with an iron going to hit you. Have you ever been hit by an iron?
No.
Well, you're laughing. I'm thinking, how could you for 6 years think you're going to get hit by an iron?
No,
Iron
it's
swinging.
different objects. It's just like a big cord and something on the end of it is swinging and it's
Right.
about.
And it's a box of air Because if it
Yeah.
ever hits you, it'd go, pff,
Yeah.
yeah. So what if you ran into that box the next time it swung in this dream, in this story, and you just ran into it and you grabbed it and you opened it up, you go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of you swinging that dang box. Show me what's in it. It'll go, I'll be back.
Yeah.
But see, we laugh because I'm having a conversation with you that seems crazy. But the story you told me seems crazier.
So it is crazy.
I know, but
other
why
people-
don't we step into that story? It's only in the imagination.
I know.
So now next time you step into that box, I do it now. Imagine go back to one of the stories while you're sitting here and step into that box. And grab the cord and go, put the damn cord down. Just put the cord down and go away. Go sit in the corner. Nobody asked you to show up anyways. I love you, and I love that. And it'll go away like when you tell a puppy, right? My puppies, when I go, what'd you do, right? Everybody knows they can get their puppy to do something. What'd you do? And their ears go back, and they're like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I did something. And if they did do something, boy, they really cower. What'd you do? Get over here. Just do that with this story going. Listen, enough with the cord. You're going to hurt yourself. It's going to wrap around your neck, story, and it's going to choke you. I don't want you to get hurt. Go away.
Yeah.
See, we have these conversations, and then I find it very puzzling that we can't have the next conversation. What's in the box? See, this is that challenge of 1% think, 2% think they think. The other 97% would rather die than think. You've had this story for 5 years. And now all of a sudden, I'm not doing anything with your story other than saying, why don't you ask it what's in the box? And now you're going, I guess I could. And you'll be surprised there's nothing in the box.
Yeah.
Now, is Steph on here? Steffi, are you on here? She did a story. If you saw her Instagram story, she tells the story about the guy who's been sitting on the box begging for years. And somebody comes by and asks him, have you ever looked in the box? He goes, no, it's been here. It was here before I got here. And he's been sitting on it for 20 years begging.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy says, why don't you look in the box? He goes, there's nothing in the box. I've been sitting on it for 20 years. Don't you think I'd know there'd be something sitting in the box? And he opens it up, and what's in the box?
Money.
It's filled with gold.
Oh.
Same thing, money, but it's filled with gold. And he's been sitting on it begging for 20 years. You've been sitting begging for 5 years, and maybe that box swinging around is filled with gold.
Sean,
Yes.
Peter Crone has a nice way of saying it. He says, what if I created and focused on a future? What if I focus on a future that is as real as the one I've convinced myself to be concerned about? Because they're both made up. They're just stories I made up.
Absolutely. So what is that story you made up and keeping you from the story that you really want to make up? Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. It does.
So take some time and become aware.
Yeah.
And the next time it shows up, start giggling, rub your hands together and go, I get to look at the box. I get to look and see what's on the end of that cord.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if it's a dozen roses.
Okay.
It's just as well. That's if you're laughing at me because that's crazy. You're the one that just told me somebody's chasing me, swinging something on a big cord. Oh, well, that's sane. Yeah, forget about what's on the other end of it. Change the way we look at things, and the things we look at change.
Now I feel like I shouldn't have shared this. But
No,
it's
you should have, because here's the thing. It'll make you, that's shame.
Yeah.
What your experience is shame. Shame is I'm the problem. No, guilt is what caused you to mention it. And now we're having a giggle at it.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a giggle at the story, not at you, but you go, oh, that's me. I'm the one that caused the problem. I'm being laughed at. No, it's the story that's being giggled at.
Yeah.
But you see how quick we go to shame?
Yeah.
See, folks, this is real life here. There's none of this is scheduled or planned or casted or scripted. But as we begin to pay attention to it, we realize this is what happens when we have a conversation with a prospect. Do you see how easy it is? Now, Anne knows me. We've never met, but I love her. I believe she thinks I'm strong, have a better relation than a mouse. But because we have this relationship with each other, there's a level of confidence between each other. And now all of a sudden, me saying I'm giggling at this story of something on the end of a cord, and I go, it could be roses. And she goes, that was a micro expression of, oh, well, I thought I was crazy. You've gone around the bend. And then she goes, oh, I feel like I shouldn't have shared that. That's shame. That's the cord. That's the story. Whoever's swinging that cord, that's them going, why are you telling them? Hush, hush, my dear. I'll keep you safe. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to the man behind the curtain. It's like the Wizard of Oz over here.
Wow.
Thank you for helping us all experience life in this moment.
I thank myself and I thank
Yes! Yay!
Hey, Sean, can I share something with her?
You might be able to if it's going to be short.
Yes. So, and one thing that Shauna is basically telling you is you're walking in the garden of your mind and you're picking the roses that you like, right? You're picking all the things that you like, and anything that doesn't resonate with you in that garden, it's okay to leave it behind. So that's kind of what I do to move forward with things, or old stories, right? If there's certain stories that they just don't make you feel good, right? You can look at them like a flower that you just don't like, and you can leave it right there and move along forward in your journey along the garden of your mind. So even if that flower may show up in the future, you can look at it and, just like Sean says, say, oh, and pat it and keep on moving along. And that's all I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Moshe. That actually really helps.
Cool.
Thank
RBP, how about a female voice?
Rhonda, I've been watching you, and I was like, after you've said that about your face, I was like, I'm gonna watch and see if she like reacts to my story.
Now we have a weather indicator. It's like a weather vane, the Rhonda fart face.
I know, I'm sitting over here going, watch your face, girl, watch your face. I have been saying that all morning. I'm like, watch your face, watch your face. And I probably just need to quit, because y'all probably get a big kick out of watching my face if I just quit being so conscious of it. I listen to these in such a different way now that I end up with a whole different thought process. And it's interesting though what you did there, and how all of a sudden you jumped instantly into, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have asked that. And that's where my notes went. I wrote one in the, in the journal, the one that y'all has the little, so that's those thoughts. And then I wrote in my notes, how do we get so quick put into shame like that? And here's what's scary too. We all know this is a safe place and a platform, so to speak, that Sean has provided, that's safe and comforting and easy for us to be able to speak anything on. And we still doubt and question and get scared and get nervous. And if we're doing that on this provided place, imagine when we go to speak to people, or when we allow them to speak, and we say anything that appears questioning to them, what it must make them feel like, and we've all been there, what it feels like to have that thought that you just shared questioned. And then we wonder why people pull away from us, or we wonder why people get frustrated with us. And it's because they take up an offense. And offense is the bait of the enemy. They take up an offense because it instantly puts them into shame or guilt. So I'm sitting over here listening to this, and first of all, I got to say, Anne, you're a very brave, courageous woman, because you used to hide behind the scenes and you would only talk sparingly. And then when you did ask a question, you only asked like one question, and then you just sat, and you wouldn't dialogue with Sean. You would just hear him. And then you would be like, okay, thank you. And that's all you would do. And now you're stepping into this. Okay, but hang on a second. Let me ask you about this. And then, oh, so I shouldn't have said that? Your change is quite remarkable, that you're stepping up into your boldness, into your courage. I now hear y'all speak and listen to you, and then I ask questions as to how you got to that thought in your mind, and what part of that is from your old story, and most all of it is, and why you're still wrestling with it. So I try to start reverse engineering. Why are they at the point that they're at with their conversation? And why did they ask that question? Hang on a second. Let me look at this. And if there is something I can share, I'll read it. And if not, then
I won't.
I won't. Yeah, I won't. Not today. That's going to get clicked back together. So what I'm hearing, Anne, is, oh, I love you. I hope this comes out right.
It's all right. Just let it flow.
If you gave as much attention to the new story as you do the old, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That is true.
Snap.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I need that.
But that's, I mean, that can only be said female to female.
Yeah, that's even scary there, because I could get cut if I was in front of her and I said it the wrong way. So that's why I was like, ah. So, I love you.
Hang on a second. What just transpired is everything we want to have happen when we're in the middle of a conversation with somebody. We're asking them to attain a higher level by joining us in business. If they paid attention on the success we can provide them, we can show them the system we can allow them to plug into, wouldn't their days change if they focused as much on what we have to offer them, what's being offered to them and through them in our systems, in our teams, in our trainings, wouldn't their days change dramatically versus on what they don't have? But what do they go back to? What they don't have. How hard is it? Come on. How hard is it to take a packet and tear open a packet and pour it in a blender and throw a banana in there and get healthy? It's not hard at all. Matter of fact, it's real easy. Why don't more people do it? Because it breaks the old story. And what Rhonda just shared with Anne, if you focused as much time on the new story as you do on the old story wouldn't have it would suffocate. Mm-hmm. So the reality then becomes, how can we constantly breathe life into that new story? Well, in network marketing, we call it recognition. We recognize people for the small steps. The challenge is too often we don't recognize them early enough. We don't resuscitate the new story early enough. We don't resuscitate the new story with sending out 3 messages. How many of you sent out 3 messages already? Drop a D in the chat if you did it. Guess what? You're the ones going through life-changing moments. Well, it can't be that easy. My mentor would say, you're right, I'm rich, let's move on.
So then, Sean, wouldn't it be fair to say, let me see how I said this. It's important to become so much into your new story that as you sit around people that are so engulfed in their current or old story that's holding them back, that you don't get the sticky of their old story on you, and reminded of your old story, and you become so attractive to them, and it's not because of what you're doing, it's who you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what's so attractive. That's the reason why a lot of people on this call show up for you. Some of them show up just because it was dropped in a chat somewhere and they love that chat and they're like, I'm going. But after they get here, one of the reasons they keep coming back is you're so stuck into where you are going and what you know your worth and your value is, and what we keep calling the new story, that's attractive. That's why probably limited few, maybe 6 or 7 people on this call actually know if Sean's even in a networking company, and if he is, what the name of it might possibly could be. Because we're so attracted to where he's going for himself that's why we keep showing up. And that sticks out to me, because in anything you want to introduce anybody to, it's not about that and what you're doing so much as it is who they're becoming. Now, some of us have gotten attracted to people that it is what they're doing because they're making a lot of money, and then you figure out what kind of person they are because money reveals who they really are. And you're like, dear God, what have I done and why am I in this? And then you have this huge, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Network marketing sucks, or whatever I'm in sucks. And it's because of the person around you just shined the light more on your old story and less on the new. So that's why we show up to see Sean and are attracted to hear what he has to say, because he puts us in a headspace of what's possible, not what has already happened. So as I sit across from people, or as I talk to people, here lately, I've been dissecting my thoughts before they run out of my mouth. What a novel idea. And I determine, am I putting them in a place of seeing the potential of a new story developing for them? Or am I putting them in a place of reminding them of the old story and why they need to develop a new one? I don't want to remind them of the old and why to develop a new one. I just want them to be able to see there's a new one. There is a new one. They can become. And I don't use, and excuse me if anybody on here is this, because I've been in the medical field. I worked in the medical field, but I don't want to use fear as a motivator. Fear of this is what you were, this is what you used to do, to motivate you to do what you could do. I want you to choose what you could do, because it is a much more attractive option, and you see what the potential is, and you see you were designed for that. Does that make sense how all that came out?
I heard it. Yes.
Okay.
And here's the thing. If we sit across from somebody, whether it's to help them build a business, to get out of a stuck place, an old story, this is going to be like, oh my goodness. I hope it is. If you tell them anything about your business or your company, you're giving them fodder, right? Info to stay in the old story. Because everything you're going to talk about is going to be in the past. When you talk about your comp plan, you're only talking about it in the past. You sometimes throw out that you can make a lot of money. But if you're talking about how something works, you're speaking from the past. You learned it yesterday. And if you're regurgitating it, you're telling a day-old story. What does it look like in the future? That's why 98% of the people never make money in the business, is because they've never gotten out of their old story. They're staying exactly where they're at. Network marketing produces very similar results to life. But everybody gets mad because they thought they were given a chance to have freedom. And nobody gave them freedom, because everybody kept talking about the old story. What's your why? That's old story, because most people don't know how to really define their why. right? If you got in trouble when you were little, what's the first thing your parents asked you? You broke something. I took this and I knocked it over and I broke the glass. Why'd you do that? That has been said to you more times than you could count on a stick. But then we get into this profession and somebody came up with their why needs to make him cry. Well, every why made him cry. That's the reason that they got asked why, because they were crying. Now, we can change the way they look at things. And that's when we begin to have a conversation with them, a dialogue. You broke a pot yesterday. Why'd you do that? Why? Oh, I'm so stupid. That was so dumb. Isn't that crazy? So, very cool conversation. And thank you for helping us awaken to that.
Sean, can I ask one more question? I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but just one more.
Listen. Do you think I could stop you?
True. I just wanted to ask, like, I know what you mean by new story, like choosing joy.
Yep.
But I don't know what my new story is. Like, what do I concentrate on? Like,
Joy.
Yeah, I know it's joy, but it's like that.
No, you don't. If you knew it was joy, you wouldn't be asking me. I love you. I love you. If you knew what joy was, you wouldn't be asking me. Yeah, but what is it? It's joy. So what makes you smile? Is there a certain beverage that you like that makes you smile? A certain movie, a certain song that makes you smile?
Yeah.
That's joy. Because we need we need an external stimuli to activate the internal enthusiasm, the God within, the entheos, until the entheos takes over by itself.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So activate it however you need to activate it, right? How many times do we, and listen, I don't know. I haven't worn makeup in a long time, ever. But if I looked in a mirror and I went, I want to look pretty, and I put on a little lipstick and I look a little sexy, or I determine what color red I'm going to put on, or how I'm going to do my eyebrow. Ooh, I look hot. Now I'm getting, ooh, oh, girls, you better look out. Guys, you better look out. Sean's coming for you, right? And I'm all dressed up in makeup. Why does that make us feel better? Why do clothes make us feel better? It's an external stimuli to activate an internal entheos, or enthusiasm. Find your joy. Listen, here's what I know your joy isn't. Something on the end of a cord being swung by some nut job in your story.
Sean, this could be a place where she could deftly apply sentence stem completion technique.
Yep, I heard that.
And if for example, and if you sat down and wrote out 10 times, if I knew one thing that would bring me a great deal of joy, it might be ...
Fill in the blank.
Okay.
Because Bob,
another thing.
I just heard people writing that sentence ... I wonder what the hell ... means.
And another thing that when I think about it brings me great joy might be, and do that as fast as you can, 5 to 10 times, and see what pops up. It'll come out of your unconscious, like a can of tuna fish being opened in front of a cat.
For those of you with cats, definitely you get that metaphor.
Thank you, guys.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ann. Does that help?
Yes, it does, definitely. Got some work to do.
Wonderful. Let's go to Gigi. Where's Gigi? Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Sean. How are you doing?
Outstanding, my love.
That's good. Okay, so I have a few questions.
Okay.
One, I started doing the inner engineering with Sadhguru.
Yeah.
I started on Monday.
Awesome. So I'm going to, before you get started, remember your question.
Okay.
and when you do inner engineering, you can only click back 10 seconds, and you can click back, click back, click back. There is no replay of this. There's no replay. When you're done with the 7 sessions, it's over. So do not think you can go back. Well, I'll just listen to that again. When they say you should have a light stomach and you're going to focus for the 60 minutes, the 70 minutes, I'm going to encourage you for sessions 2 through 7, do that.
Yeah, I started on Monday, so I'm like on I think today's session 4, and I made sure I didn't eat. I turned off all electronics, and I was just in my room, solitude by myself.
And when he says something that triggers an emotional awakening, pause it. There's times I'll leave it for 2 days, 3 days, midway through a session. And how do I know this? Because this is the second time I bought it. Right? How many times do you read a book until you digest it and go, I know the recipe? So I'm on inner engineering for the second time. So go ahead, continue.
I realized a lot of the things you say, he says, and I'm like, now I know where Sean gets that. That makes a lot of sense.
But I was saying them before he said them as well. It's just what happens is that it's neat to see that somebody that's the top 50 influential people in India, that I've been saying similar things to him. Now I just get a different language to put it in. So yes, absolutely.
What's that question? Yeah. So when I, after day 1,
Mm-hmm.
it was weird. Because I sat and I was like, why is my mind so at peace? Why is it so quiet in here? I'm like, this is weird. So I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, is my mind really this quiet?
The hamster got off the wheel and he's sitting in the corner going, holy criminy, I'm like 75 pounds underweight because I haven't slowed down.
That makes sense.
Yep. And that's what it does, right? When you calm the mind, I don't know where half the answers that I say come from. I know they're not all of them are stored in my mind, but because of some experiences I have, I'm able to formulate something that seems to work well for a solution for some people. So it's all about peace, right?
Yeah. And then when he was talking about yoga means oneness, and ever since I've been doing it, I feel more at one than I did. I know before I've had experiences where I did, but now it's okay, now I completely just feel at one with myself. And I'm not even done yet.
Yeah, well, and that oneness hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you're no longer out there. You're halfway into me. Awesome. This is cool. It's I own my own story now.
About time.
Yep.
But another question I had. You say when you get downloads, they're for other people. And my question is, when you get them, do you have to configure them? Because sometimes I feel I get them, but I'm if I tell somebody, I would be I don't know if giving them the answer instead of helping them get to the answer. So the way
the downloads happen in me and through me is they usually happen in the moment. It's not that I store it up and go, hey, listen, I got a letter for you the other day. I just got a letter. And I'm going, I got to get a hold of you. No, it happens in the moment. But usually what I see is pictures. I grew up on a farm. So there's a lot of times these pictures, and the picture reminds me of a story, and the story reminds me of a feeling, and that's the feeling I'm supposed to share with you. When the words come out of my mouth, that is not the download I get. I get an image. Anybody ever seen John Edwards in the TV show Crossing Over? And they stand there and they tell you all of this stuff about people who have crossed over, and they go, I'm getting this, that, and the other. And I used to think, what a bunch of hokey. And I still think some of that's hokey. But I get the same kind of downloads, and y'all go, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I'm like, it can't. There's no way possible. I'm not getting that until somebody very dear to me, who happens to be wearing a pink robe, goes, well, you're a knucklehead. That's the Holy Spirit. Pay attention. I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Does that help, Gigi?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. So go ahead. Next question. Part 2.
It's making me think the few times I've got them, I don't know if it, well, like, I know part of me is like, oh, I don't know how to say this. And if I say
You
this,
do that. You start off by that. If you hear me say, listen, I don't know if this is going to make any sense to you, but this is what I'm hearing. And the challenge is you're trying to make it make sense based upon the story you know. But when you receive a download, when you receive an inspirational thought, I would encourage you to say it, because if it made sense to you, you'd already told them. When it makes no sense to you and you start off sharing the story and they go, oh my gosh, how did you know? This is no different than working your muscles, right? This little thing, I squeeze it, right, to help with my hand strength, and my hand gets stronger and stronger and stronger. This muscle that you're creating of listening to the downloads, hearing the downloads, getting the static out of the way so they can flow in. You realize in the 1700s when people said they got downloads, they kind of burned them at the stake.
I was probably burned at the stake in a past life.
So I would pay attention to that, and I would say, and I would just share it going, listen, I just got this information. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to say it to you. I hope it means something to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Keep working on it. Have a conversation about that in your journal. And I would do that before you go on to any more sessions.
Okay.
Okay. That's not the answer I wanted.
I come in with no expectations, so.
Yeah. Pull this leg, I sing jingle bells.
I try.
Yes. And you're doing much better. I will give you an atta girl for that. You are doing wildly better. And thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Sean.
And congratulations on doing inner engineering. It is a pretty neat conversation.
Wait, so if I like finish the 7 days, I have to like buy it again to get?
Yep. That's why I'm saying pay
Okay.
very close attention.
Okay. But then he says don't take notes.
Well, he says that, but he said, because if there's supposed to be a book written, shouldn't I be the one writing it? But he's telling people that while they're in the session, because there is no pause. He's not going to sit there and pause. Okay, now tell me when everybody has everything written down. He's like, just pay attention. I pause it. The 90 minutes that they are, the 70 minutes that they are, could take me a week to get through it. Pretty interesting. You're like, and the story he tells about Adi Yogi and all of that stuff. So yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Let's see. Let's go to Julie. Where's Julie? Where's that smiling face? Thank you, Gigi.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning. There you are.
You're beautiful, Gigi. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Good. I'm chicken liver, but Gigi's beautiful. I get it.
You're beautiful too, girl. I've been looking at you since day one. Just like Sean was. Okay, bye.
How are you, Sean?
Outstanding, my love.
Outstanding. So I have a couple of questions, but like small ones.
Okay.
But like something, and I mean, I told you briefly about that, but like something that I struggle with a lot is like guilt. And I know where a lot of it comes from, like from my family, but I told you about my dad, like that he's 96 years old. And ever since I was small, I always like, I'm worried about him. I always worry that something happens to him.
Yep.
And he's the number one person in my life, but at the same time, he's like responsible for a lot of the issues that I have. And
Yep.
like, I love him so much. And I've always like dedicated my life to pleasing him, to keeping him happy. But at the same time, he's the number one person that makes me feel miserable. Like every time that I talk to him, I feel bad because he's so negative. And I always like try to, you know, I'm the black sheep of the family.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm like kind of the person that keeps everything together, but that everybody at the same time looks at like, oh, something's wrong with you and, you know, you're crazy. But I love them so much, but they're like the number one reason that I feel bad. And like, I don't know how to deal with that because it just like, it keeps me stuck. But I just feel so much guilt towards my family. But at the same
So
time,
can I give you a word?
Yes.
Write this down. Here's the word you want to write down. Until.
That's like your answer for everything.
You'll keep that story until. Jim Rohn said it. I'm just borrowing it from Jim Rohn. You'll do all of that until
I'm sick of it.
Until the day you've had enough.
But I had enough, but I keep going back.
That's an old story. That's a bunch of BS, belief system. You haven't had enough, because if you did, you're a woman that, if you've had enough, listen, you're dead to me when you've had enough. That's the way you are with the story. There's things that you've decided. That's it. That's like Michael Jordan said, once I decided, I never had to think about it again. The only reason you're thinking about it again is because you haven't decided. Ugh, crap.
Sean,
Hello?
it's me, Evelyn.
Yes. Hey, Evelyn.
According to what you're telling her and what you just say about the decision, like when my old story want to kick in, I just don't allow it to think or waste time,
No.
like Rhonda said on that.
Don't allow it to
Just
waste
focus
time.
on the new one.
Focus, but here's the thing you have to do with the old story, which most
Yeah.
people won't ever do, and you're not taught. You got to love the old story. Aw,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
I love you. Thank you. And then the old story goes, I was coming for a fight. And if there's no fight, guess what the story has to do? Go ahead, RB.
Sean, can I say it in a different way? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so ladies, let me say it like this. Why is it that after we kick a dude to the curb because he's a lowlife, that we go back out and we're wherever we are, that we hang out with our friends, and he goes walking by and we're like, oh my God, he's so good looking. Why did I get rid of him? Oh my God, look at him. Oh my heaven. And you're like instantly attracted. You're like, why did I get rid of him? And so you're like, I know I can go over there and start talking to him. He's going to be interested. I know he is. And so you do, and you start talking to him. And after a little while, you're like, oh, that's why I didn't want to be around you. Now I remember. That's disgusting.
Oh yeah, I could have said the same. I could have said it the same way. I was about to explain it that way. Whatever.
Stop it. Stop. So that old story does the exact same thing. We're like, oh, it's so sexy. Man, that is so sexy. I think I'm going to just play with that for a little while. And then you start picking it up and playing with it. And you're like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? It's the same thing. You got to remember why the old story makes you have the stinky fart face. You got to remember why you're like, that's why I got rid of it. And once you cut it loose, be done. It's the same thing. And guys, it's the same thing for y'all. You keep going back to that woman that seems like, you got a fiend for her, and she ain't good for you. You know it, but you're like, oh, but she looks good. She looks good. And then about the time you start entertaining that thought and you get back around to, you're like, oh my gosh. Y'all, it's the same thing with the old story. It will appear sexy to you. And it's that moment where you have got to make a decision and cut it loose and cut it off and be done. Otherwise, you're going to keep picking it up and jacking with that old crap that is just nothing but nasty. So I don't know. That's what I heard instantly as y'all started asking this. And Julia, that's what I heard with you is, oh, the fun, the new is so fun. But man, look how sexy he was when he walked by, said the old story. And you keep looking back and you keep looking back. If you're rubbernecking looking back, sister, and I love you, I hope you are accepting this. If you keep rubbernecking, you're not going to do anything except have a sore neck. Look forward into your new story, the one that you are beautifully and wondrously and remarkably made for, and move forward and make a decision. I'm not entertaining the old anymore. The old burned me and got me where I'm at. And if you're happy where you are, please stay. If you're not, then maybe you need to quit letting the old story entice you. Redefine sexy, redefine happy, and stick to the new definition. Maybe it's a new normal.
I get the whole thing from story and everything, but like, what about the part of the story that's reality, because my family is the way they are. I can't change it. I can like distance myself, but it's like the thing with my dad is I'm just worried that, you know, he's old and he might die, you know, because of his age. And I don't want to have like, because I know he won't change. I mean, he might. I mean, okay,
But
that's
does he
okay.
have to change for you to be happy? Or do you have to change for you to
That's
be?
it.
I mean, I have to change, but
Okay, so end that story right there.
Yeah.
I am changing, but like I said, for
You're
his
not.
sake.
No, stop. Old story. I love you. I love you. If you decide to be happy, can anybody, nobody can piss you off without your permission. If I said, can y'all believe her curly hair? Oh my God, who would want a head of hair like that? You'd be like, screw you, I'm out of here. But I tell you, well, don't let your 32 years of your dad being a taskmaster over you, give that up. You're not giving up your dad when you give up that part of making you sad. He's still your dad, and there's the good points and there's the not so good points. They are who they are. Have you ever looked at a piece of art and didn't like it? Did you go tell the museum, get that off the wall? That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They'd be like, who the hell are you? Get out.
Well,
And
it's letting the old story rob you of your current time. So Julia, I get it. I totally get it, because I have people in my life that I don't want to miss time with them, because like what you said, I don't know how many years we got, you know, for that matter, never know. But when they're older, you kind of tend to start thinking about that, and you're like, you know, I don't know how much longer they're going to be here. So that's an understandable thought, and that's very admirable, and that tells me you have a big heart and you have a lot of love in your heart. So why would you let the old story rob you of sitting in that place of love? So you got to, and this is what I've done and still doing, you got to define your happiness, and then you got to set, do you allow someone else to come in moment by moment and change that definition for you? Or can you hang on to your happiness, to your definition of happiness and your joy, no matter where you are and no matter who's around? And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned through rewiring my brain, is now I can sit beside those who are disgusted by me for whatever reason stirs up inside of them, and realize that's not my definition of joy. So I'm going to let them keep that one, but I can sit right beside them and keep my definition. And that's a rewiring, and it's also a kind of a maturity of the heart, to not just let your soul just run around and act like a bratty 3-year-old. And you kind of go, hey, listen, keep it in check, sister. Come on now. And you take on to another level of maturity, spiritual maturity and heartfelt maturity. And you go, you know what? That's who they are. They're not a mirror of who I am. And there's times where I physically have to go into a bathroom where I'm around some of those people and look in the mirror and go, okay, there she is. She's right there. All right. Okay, good. I don't look like that person. That's good. All right, here I am. And that's all I have to do. So you're being enticed by the old story, and you're being enticed by emotions that people have thrown at you, and you've grabbed a hold of them. It's like, oh, I think I'll take that one. Now I'm offended. And oh, I think I'll take that one. Now I'm pissed off. Oh, and I'll take that one. And then you look down and you're like, why am I holding all this crap? And then we blame it on the person, when, you know what? They're speaking. Just because they're speaking doesn't mean we have to believe what they're saying. And it definitely isn't, we have to believe what they're saying about us. And that's why Sean's talks on addiction to approval are so valuable, because what you're seeing is your addiction to approval of your old story and what people have always said about you, and how this individual has made you feel. Why don't you just choose to sit in joy by this individual and realize they might have a different definition of who you are than who you are, and choose to be okay with that.
Julie, imagine this. Imagine this story. Imagine my bride and I are an absolute knockdown, tear down argument. And we're out at dinner. And we showed up at dinner with this argument still brewing in our minds. And you're sitting across the table from us, and we put on a good face, but you could tell there was something wrong. Do you sit there and go, hey, listen, let me get into the middle of your argument? You could sit there and go, yeah, there was something off with them, but sucks to be them. Can you sit there? Can you step away from you and go, yeah, that's too bad. I don't have to take on that. The challenge is if you have caught many of those boxes, as Rhonda's saying, and now you're looking in the box. You've given yourself permission to look in the box, and you're going, good God, there's no bottom of this box. Oh my goodness. How big was this box? Maybe that's the box Ann has on the end of that string. And that's why Ann doesn't want to get hit with it, because it's your box of stuff. See, we're all connected. And shaking her head going, he's a nut job. What are we doing here? How are we still here with this guy?
Sean, may I add
Sure.
to that?
Absolutely.
Julia, my issue was with my mom. And I felt that I was going to lose that relationship with her. I felt bad of allowing my addiction to be through her actions or non-actions and what she has said over the years. And there's something instilled in us that, you know, the honor and the respect for our parents. And I felt like if I let my old story go, that I had to let my mom go, as if I would never talk to her again. I had to avoid her. And that is not the case. So I can so see your pain and relate to you with your dad. On the other side, when you don't let that old story creep in, and when you truly release it, you see them differently, but you can still have a relationship with them. You truly can choose joy and be with them, be around them. And even with my brother, I had to release some stuff with my brother. The relationship on the other side does not change as far as the relationship, the father-daughter relationship, but you actually can be around them and be in joy. So if you clearly cannot see the difference between joy and misery and choose that so openly, kind of like black and white to me, there's more there. There's more there to dig down to release. And I know it's difficult because it's our parents. And I'm 52, so I got a lot more years with my parents than you do. So but it's painful to think. To me, it was almost like I felt like I was blaming my mom. And I didn't want to place blame on her. And when I see it now, I don't view it as it was her fault. I'm not placing blame on her. It's more of, this is how I felt. This was about me and not her. And I felt like I was going to blame her for something and for how I felt. But I had to come to terms with, it was okay, and it still is. These are my feelings. There's no blame to place anywhere. There's no reason to feel guilty. These are your feelings, and it's okay to have these feelings. There's nothing wrong with it. For whatever reason, we feel what we feel, and it's okay to feel that. There is no blame to place, and that was difficult for me. And I hope that kind of helps you a little bit to be able to choose that joy And you don't have to break the relationship. I still talk to my mom as much, the same as I did before. Do I view her differently? I don't know that at first I viewed her differently, but now a month later, it's more of, okay, she's there, I'm here, I'm in joy, regardless of what she says or does. And I truly can choose it. But you don't lose the relationship, sweetie. You don't, nothing changed in that regard. It was all inside of me. But my feelings for how I felt towards my mom, it's all okay. This is how I felt. I had to take ownership of me. And there is nowhere to place the blame. And I think before you totally release, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be blaming her for everything. You know, she made me feel this way. She didn't. It's just the circumstances, and it's okay. So I hope that kind of helps give you a visual of the relationship will still be there with your dad and your family members.
Michelle.
And Julie, because you're going through this process, you've kind of have an emotional sunburn that whenever you step out into the sun, it's like, and everybody's like, what are you complaining about? It's just the sun. You're like, no, I'm so sensitive. Right. And you're like freaking out. And that's what's happening. You've kind of opened up a little bit of something that's a little bit raw, and just know this is a process. So I would encourage you to say thank you for having this conversation this morning. So the news story goes, oh, okay, so we're okay. We're moving forward, because this is a different conversation than you've had before. Before it was just he's either an angel or a jackass, and I don't know which one I'm going to see today. Now it's having a conversation of, did I cause that? Was I part of the challenge, or how do I forget that? And then this guy in Texas tells me, write down this word until. Oh, thanks. Like that's going to help. Oh, great. Okay, tell me to go build a dam in a day. Forget it. Right? So it's a process, and you've got people who have been through it recently and can speak to you in a way that I can't. That's why we have a mentorship group here. That's why we have a conversation. Does that help?
Awesome, thank you. And then second question, Sean, very briefly, like, how do you start meditation?
Breathe. Count your breaths. Meditation is slowing down the mind to focus on one thing, to focus to nothing, to get to the nothing. It's to get to the nothingness. The challenge with meditating is that when we start to slow down our mind, it's like trying to slow down an oil tanker. It takes miles. Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, I'm going to go into meditation. They told me if I sit lotus style and I put these two little fingers together, and that should connect me to everything. And if I go, oh my God, I just had 7,000 thoughts. Now what do I do? Okay, I'm going to not think of anything. Okay, that's like say, don't think of a pink elephant. There's the pink elephant. Maybe it's walking meditation. Maybe it's just walking around your flat and just being aware of things around. It's deciding that you're in charge. I would encourage you to dry yourself off differently every day when you get out of the shower. That's a form of meditation, taking back control over what your body does. The challenge is that meditation is you slowing down your body, and your body's going, ha, 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 I'm in charge. And it comes up with every old story to keep you out of this, because it knows if you become one with you, the old story vanishes. So you have to love it. That's why when you see these, I picture thoughts like bubbles. And I go, oh, I love you. And then I pop it. But the challenge is when you have like 17 bubble machines that are blowing the bubbles, and it's like, I can't even see because of all the bubbles. It's like my arms are exhausted. Yeah, I see everybody doing that. So sometimes I got to get the tennis racket out and just go. but you got to become aware of it. And eventually the bubbles slow down. It runs out of bubble juice.
Patience, I guess.
You're welcome. Thank you, because everything you shared this morning, there's 57 people on here who are going, oh my God, that's me. So thank you for having the courage. I love you.
Thank you, love you, and I thank myself.
Yay. Let's go to Jennifer Diaz. Good morning, Jennifer.
Hey, Sean, how are you? Good morning.
Outstanding, my love.
You know, it's funny because I knew I was next, and of course, because I could go and see how many hands are left, and I was like, oh, it's me. And, you know, just knowing that that conversation was coming to an end and thinking that I was coming up next, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And I don't know why, because how many times haven't I had the conversation with you, and how many times, but you know what it is. And if I'm being honest with myself, it's because I beat myself up because just like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, I had a breakthrough. And I don't put it like this because it's lightly, it's for real. I did have a breakthrough, but because I had a breakthrough, I have a tough time with like admitting to myself, like, you have to go back and say more because there's more breakthroughs. It's not just one breakthrough and that's it.
Right.
And so, why?
No, you're right. Continue.
Oh, okay. I thought you said why. I was like, well, I don't know. That's the point of this. So, today I got on and I keep telling myself, don't listen to your old story, but I do. And I'm having a tough time with not listening to it. I was having a tough time with not listening to it until now because we're having this conversation. But I don't know I don't know what it is. Like in the mornings, I have a routine that I try to follow, and I was waking up at 4:30 every day, and I hate admitting this out loud, but it's the truth. And lately I've been just turning off my alarm and going back to bed. And I know that it's because it's my old story creeping up on me and telling me like, it's too early. Like, you couldn't be up. You can't be up. You should be sleeping. You should be sleeping. And it's like, why was I able to do it in the beginning and now I can't? And maybe it doesn't make sense what I'm saying out loud because it doesn't even make sense to me, but I know it's my old story, and I'm listening to the girls and I'm listening to the advice, and I'm like, I understand, and I'm trying to apply that to my life, but I don't know where I'm going wrong or what's missing. Like, I'm doing all these amazing things, yet I still have like that little doubt creeping up on me. Is it just because I'm getting into a new me and like accepting my new story that doubt is creeping up? Like,
so what do you think it is?
That's what I think it is.
Okay. So if it's that, now how do we serve it, or how do we adjust for it? If I know it's going to rain out, I'm probably going to bring an umbrella unless I choose to do rain that day. So if you know it's your old story showing up and it's trying to keep you from doing that, how do you prepare for that to show up? What can you
The thing
do?
is that I know that it's my old story showing up when I sit down and do this.
Yep.
But when I'm by myself in the moment,
yep,
I don't know why I don't notice it and I allow it to take over.
So now that you know that when you're in the moment, it's going to take over, what can you become aware of? Now that you've made it a public statement that you go, I know it's when I'm by myself and I don't catch it soon enough. What might you do now to catch it sooner?
I don't know. The only thing I could think about is like journaling about it.
Okay. So if you're trying to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're probably not going to start journaling. What could you do to get your butt out of bed? Who are you doing this for? Who are you doing this for?
Myself, ultimately.
Okay. So evidently when you were doing it before and getting out of bed, you were doing it for somebody else, because now that you're doing it for yourself, ultimately, without those other people engaged in your thoughts, you're not getting out of bed. Who were you doing it for before?
Other people,
yeah.
Everyone.
Well, who's somebody?
I want to serve others.
Yep. So who's somebody else that you would do this for? Who's going to benefit?
Well, that's one thing. It's funny that you bring that up. My team, my girls, the people that need me to show up so that they can show up.
Yep. So
Right.
until you need you to show up, who do you think it's more important to show up for, you or them?
Me.
So until you can do it for you, why not do it for them?
So you're saying just keep showing up for them?
Well, you're not showing up for you or them when you're not showing up. So at least show up for one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have a hard time with it though. Like I don't have a hard time. I
Well,
have to
you
stop
do
saying
have,
that.
Les, but you do have a hard time with it when it's just for you. That's a whole self-worth and personal story and all of that stuff. So until Bob Proctor says, do the thing until you don't have to do the thing. Do the thing until you don't have to, then you'll want to. So you're working yourself to want to. And right now, if you wake up for yourself, you've got an old story that goes, you don't deserve to be this good, but you deserve to be this good for other people. So start there. Start with what got you out of bed, because you were getting out of bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your old story goes, well, you're doing this for you. You're just being selfish. So leave your butt in bed.
That's exactly what's happening.
I'd encourage you to be self-full and start to do it for others and watch the benefit that comes. And then at some point you're going to go, man, I want to do this.
That
I've been
makes
doing this
sense.
461 times. There's still days I'm like, ugh, why do I need to get up? I'm going to say the same thing over. They're going to ask me the same questions over, and I'm going to give them the same answers over, and they're going to think it's genius. And then we're going to come back the next day and we're going to do this all again tomorrow. And it's going to be the same circle. And it's going to be like, ugh.
And I'm just one of them.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the same question.
And that's okay. But I show up and say, this is my mission. Because if I choose to not show up, have I let somebody down that's not going to put a smile in the world? And have I kept myself from living my promise of being a better dad, better husband? Leaving a legacy of 600 generations isn't easy. It's fun, but it's not always easy. So I show up. I show up when even you don't show up.
Yeah, I know that.
But my point is that do I go, Jennifer's not here? Ah, and do I call you? Do I call you and go, Jennifer, where the hell were you? No, because I show up for me. My commitment is over the second I hit the start button. My commitment to me every day is to start the call. That's it. It's not to deliver value. Hopefully that happens. It's not to determine whether it's an hour or 2 hours. That happens. My commitment is I'm going to do a call every day, and I start it. What happens on it? That's up to us. So just commit to starting. Use Mel Robbins' 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. The 5-second rule. The alarm goes off. Hit it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of bed. The challenge is sometimes we try to eat the elephant all in one bite. You work out, right? And there's a level of your workout that is not the same level as the very first time you worked out. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I recently, like when all of this started was when I started working out. But then that's another thing, you know, like I have to push myself to do all those things, and I'm okay with it. But once I'm up, I can do all those things. But if I'm not up, I can't do those.
Yep. Right. So now you get a chance to take out half of your day by beating yourself up.
So, like, I put on my gym clothes because now I don't have an excuse.
Right. So what will you do that gives you no reason to once you decide, you never have to think about it again. So what's your decision?
Well, I know I know all the answers, exactly like you said, right? You know all the answers. You just need confirmation. Yesterday night, right before I went to sleep, that while I was journaling, because I journal every night, I was thinking about it and I was like, Jennifer, you know, your journals became different. Now they're more about you. And before they were about everyone else. And before you were doing all the things you wanted to do, and now you're not. So right before I went to sleep last night, I thought of that. And I mean, I have my old journal, like the one that I finished all last month.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking now, like, I have to sit down and read it and just go through my journal again and start understanding what it was that I was putting in there that was allowing me to wake up every morning. But it's the fact that it was about other people. Like the entire time I was waking up for someone else. I was waking up for something else. And when half of my team went missing, I started thinking that it was about me. I have a vision board, and yeah. I saw
See,
the comment.
listen. Somebody throws down, you need a vision board. Vision boards don't work. Ooh, I'm going to hell for that. Vision boards don't work.
No, it's the truth.
Well, they only work if you engage them. And vision boards work when you emotionally connect to them. You don't need a vision board. If you listen to The Secret, you hear John Assaraf. John Assaraf had the vision board, and he's living in the house that he put on a vision board 5 years ago and had never seen again. The challenge is when we look at vision boards, we wind up asking the question, how? And when we ask the question, how, we limit our ability. If we knew how, we wouldn't need a damn vision board. If we knew how, none of us would be on this call. If we didn't ask how, Google would be out of business. We how ourselves to death. Jennifer, are you worthy of joy?
Yes, I genuinely believe that I am.
Well, that's a long ass answer for either a yes or no answer. Are you worthy of joy?
Yes.
Then get your ass out of bed. And I don't care when it is. Just make a decision and do it. I don't care what it is. Pet the cat, don't pet the cat. Drink water, don't drink the water. But here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. When you want to drink water, say, that's a decision I'm following through on, because you're giving yourself an out. You're this beautiful, amazing young woman who's entrepreneurial in spirit, did a team call the other night, had 13 people on it, and had me on it. And all of a sudden, you have this wild levels of success. You've been to the moon. Oh my God, I had Sean on my first call. And now it's like, I don't know where to go from here. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. And all of this stuff starts collapsing around you.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's that, sorry, I know you were going to say something more. That's why I'm like, not ashamed, but that's why it's like tough for me to say out loud and to admit that to even myself, because behind closed doors, I feel this way. It comes to me and it's like, you know, you're so amazing, you're doing great. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And like, my calls are still going. Right after that, right after I had you on the call, which I was so grateful for, I had Moshe on the call. And now I have Nino coming on my call tomorrow. Like, I am extremely blessed for everything that I'm doing. And I know that I can do more. And I know it. It's just, I don't know why, which is exactly why I beat myself up a little bit when I'm behind closed doors, because I'm like, why is it that you can show up for everyone else, but you can't show up for yourself?
Until, I'm going to give you a secret word I gave Julia.
Yeah.
Until. We don't have to make it complicated, but we choose to, because we think the answer is supposed to be complicated. When you walk by a flower, does it strain to be beautiful? Then, and we call that, when we say that thing doesn't think, it has no essence. It doesn't have free will. Thank goodness it just becomes the best flower it can. You know what would be really funny is if we had phone calls every day going, I am just so full of joy. I don't know. I need to get pissed off. How do you get pissed off? Can somebody tell me how to feel frustrated? Because by God, the whole world is out there, and I want to learn how to be frustrated behind closed doors. Can somebody teach me that? We don't have those calls. We have the calls, I'm frustrated. Can somebody teach me joy? Yet the entire world, is your cat in misery or joy right now?
She's always in joy.
So then when we call them the dumb ones, oh, they're just a dumb animal. Oh no, my cat's smart. Well, I'd take some lessons from it. When she lets you pet her, she lets you pet her. And when she doesn't want to be petted, she doesn't. Forget it. I would journal more of the affirmations. Why am I so good at waking up every morning? Because you answered 1,001 questions why you're not. Did you ask the question, why am I so good at waking up?
No, I always forget to ask myself, why am I so good at doing
Yeah,
things?
I would use that, because if you use that on a regular basis, then
ask myself, why am I so bad at doing?
Yeah, and you come up with 1,001 answers and confirm it. I just ask, why am I so good at waking up every day? That helps, Jennifer?
Yeah.
I love you. You're amazing. You're incredible.
I love you too, Sean. You're so amazing. I appreciate you doing these things, because if not, I don't know where my mind would have gone.
Well, and that's true, but here's the good news. Now you know, and now you know the answer for the next time it goes running off on a tangent. You can go, hey, oh, look at it. It's running in the park. Get over here. Get over here. And just know you're worthy.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. RBP, give us a wrap up.
What will it take for us to see ourselves as valuable enough to show up for ourselves? And
that sounds self-centered.
It is, and I hope it remains that way for a while. And going back to how I spoke to the women earlier and the guys, sometimes when that ex comes around and they look so sexy and so attractive, sometimes you got to have some friends around that will literally yank your butt back and go, you are not going down that road again. You cannot afford to get tangled back up in that again. Who do you have that is being poured into from a proper source, filled with good, filled with love, that will help you not go back to what you don't need, to your old story, to that detrimental relationship, and will yank your butt and go, hey, keep going this way. Who do you have in your life? And it may only be one person. It may be two people. And if you don't have that person, that could be a huge game changer for you as to why you keep toying with the old story. So I would sit back and realize there's some people that have somebody in their life and you don't like them because they yank your butt out. And you might need to learn to love them better, because that might be exactly who it is you need to keep you from going down this road again. And some of you may not have them. And if you don't have those friends, welcome home here. We'll be the ones to yank your butt back into, hey, you're worth more. But when will you find that you are so worth showing up for yourself? And that it's okay to do that? What will it take? And let me just tell you from experience, I spent a lot of years showing up for everybody else, and I got hurt when they wouldn't show up for me. And I got offended when they wouldn't show up for me. And a lot of it was they could barely show up for themselves. That's why they couldn't show up for me. And I have no control over everybody else, but I have control over this. And this is what I got control over. And as soon as I choose joy, as soon as I choose happiness, then it doesn't matter what else is coming. So I'm going to say it again, like I said last week or whenever it was. You're worth more than a snooze button. Quit hitting the snooze button on life. We're waiting for you, Jennifer. I'm waiting for you to show up, because there's going to be something that when you arrive and you float, I'm going to get to float with you. A rising tide raises all ships. And girl, I'm in that ocean. I am in this ocean called life, and I am there. And as you show up, believe it or not, you raise women even my age up with you. And it could be that for such a time as this, you've come into this life because there's going to be something you do or say when you finally show up for yourself that triggers something inside of me. So quit hitting the snooze button. You are so priceless, every one of you. And every one of you, someone's waiting for only what you can speak into them. So let's get to that point. The point of happiness and joy, no matter what. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to have all the right words. You don't have to have all the key phrases. You don't have to have all the right questions. You don't have to have any of that. A heart full of love, sitting in joy, and a smile on your face, or even just a look on your face. A heartbeat, sitting in joy. That's all we need. And you're worthy. Your heart's beating. You got breath in your lungs. God woke you up yet one more morning. That's a lot to be thankful for. And I'm thankful for each one of you that show up and speak. So rise up. It's a nice way of me kicking you a swift kick in the seat of the pants. Rise up. Quit looking back at what used to look sexy and realize what's ahead is even better. And right now is priceless. Right now. And now right now. And now right now. And stay right there. And I'll swift kick you if you need it. I'll do it out of pure love and pure joy. But you're worth more than a snooze button. So show up. I love y'all.
Thank you, RBP. And I saw a comment in the chat, and I'll leave us on this. Whether they're with you, if they live with you, that's awesome. But what lives within you is more important. What lives with you shouldn't be the thing that makes you decide what lives within you. Just ask what lives within you. Your personal reality makes up your personality, or your personality makes up your personal reality. Just choose. Easy to say, nice words to see on a t-shirt, but decide what lives within you, and not decide what decides what lives within you by what lives with you. Y'all have an amazing day. There goes episode 262. We're going to do this again tomorrow. Me and all of my amazing misfits. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits. I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Till then, bye for now.
Love you all.
Bye,
Have an
family.
amazing-
Thank you.
Have a
Bye,
great
you guys.
Bye. Have
Love
an
y'all.
amazing day.
Guys, love you all.
Bye. I love
Thank you,
y'all.
Sean. Thank you,
Great
Linda.
day.
Love
Thank
y'all.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.